Hey everybody, welcome back. It's me, I'm Northernlion. We're going for 10 wins in a row. So magnificent. What can I say? Dude, okay. Dunce Cap D4, 9 ENF, 0 JGV. I mean, the fact that we have the D4, and we also started on one of the very few rooms where I think Dunce Cap is like immediately great. Can't complain. It's a sunny Tuesday here in Vancouver, British Columbia. Just kidding. I don't know if it's sunny. I have not looked outside yet. I probably should. The weather's been incredible recently. Here's the thing with Vancouver. It's a rainy city. You know, Seattle and us, we always go back and forth, you know? You know, it rains a lot in Vancouver. Bro, I'm from Seattle. It rains a lot. Yo, but I'm from Vancouver. It rains all the time. I'm from Seattle. I do not even know the meaning of ultraviolet rays. Well, I'm from Vancouver. Our mayor is a gray cloud. Well, I'm from Seattle. I got an umbrella surgically attached to the top of my okay, you get the idea. But the reality of the situation, and I'm loath to even bring this up because, you know, it's a busy city already. The SkyTrain, the roads, the malls, the etceteras and the etceteras. It's already packed. You need a reservation to eat at McDonald's. But people think it rains all the time here. That's not true. It only rains all the time here for like 4 months a year. You know what? I'm willing to let this ride. The D4 is great, but let's be honest, we've been using it a lot recently. Why not take the Forget-Me-Now and have an interesting run, you know, in its own right? It really only, like, October, November, December, January, February, and a decent amount of March, you know? So, I mean, it doesn't rain every day in those months, but it rains a lot. Like, there was one October, like, 2, maybe 3 years ago, it rained, like, 24 out of 30 days. 31, I guess. I'm trying to remember. Halloween's on the 31st, right? The rest of the time is pretty darn sunny. You know, I think it rains around the regional average. You know, maybe once a week, once every 10 days, something like that. Differs depending on where you live, but it's nice here now. Nice enough. I was wearing a t-shirt all day on a Saturday. Oh, dude, magic mush. You know, without a key, let's just get Forget-Me-Now out of here right off the bat. We'll get another free item room. Yo, this is amazing. One of the interesting things about living in what I have to imagine is Canada's warmest city with a population over, like, you know, 1,000 people is, you know, we get a lot of tourists, but I feel like some of these tourists don't actually get a proper lesson about it. They don't do their research necessarily about what the climate is like in Vancouver. So the number of times it'll be like, you know, sunny and 25 degrees Celsius or more. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'm pretty sure it's in like the mid 70s. You know, let's check it out here. 25 C to F. 77. Dude, it's beautiful weather, you gotta admit, right? And we'll be walking around and we'll see people that are wearing like Canada Goose jackets, you know, stuffed full of goose down. I just have to imagine. Oh, this isn't Deal with the Devil, so it doesn't matter. I just have to imagine that, you know, before, I don't know, for all I know, they could be locals and just stunting. They're like, check it out, dude. I got a Canada Goose jacket. But in my head, this is the Occam's razor. Is that they had like a business trip to Canada, and they were like, you know, I don't know anything about Canada, except there's one thing I know. Igloos, polar bears, ice hockey, it gets cold. Better pack my jacket. Then they walk outside, and they're like, Sigh! Turn it into like an interior Las Vegas. Anyways, Tuesday. I've been mentioning it a lot, but, you know, the anecdote machine is relatively dry. Let me caffeinate here. It's relatively dry because I've been cooped up inside of my office making, and you know, it's not a thankless job. Let me make that clear. But but making videos so that there's, you know, stuff that's gonna be going up while I'm gone. You're welcome. I mean, here's the thing. I've been seeing it a lot because, like, you know, there's parallels to what I do and also Game of Thrones Season 8. Because they're both bad. You don't get to say it. I'll say it because they're both bad. No, but what I mean by that is, like, sometimes I put out a bad episode. I play badly. Very rarely do I say something, like, ignorant. But, you know, that's because I just keep all my ignorant opinions to myself and only try to push out the ones that actually have a certain degree of mass appeal. Yo, I appreciate that. And people will sometimes be critical of that, and I understand. And then other people will defend me, and I appreciate it. But they'll comment like, he's been making entertainment for you for years. You know, you should be respectful. And I agree. It would be nice if everybody was. But simultaneously, I am making entertainment. But I am also getting paid for it. It's not just, like... very little of what I'm doing here is, I don't want to say, I mean, it comes across as wrong, but it's not like out of the goodness of my heart. I get a certain sense of satisfaction from providing the entertainment, but also, like, it is my job. So let's say, you know, we've reached the point with the Game of Thrones criticism where the same thing is happening, where people are like, show some respect to the key grip. That key grip gripped the keys of your favorite media over the past 8 years, and you have the audacity to say, I wish it were better? How dare you? Well, okay. People are being disrespectful to some degree, I'll admit, but simultaneously, my mans was also getting paid. I'm not saying, you know, he's making money, so we should insult him. All I'm saying is, it's not like this dude was gripping keys out of the goodness of his heart either. You know, HBO stopped sending those paychecks. I doubt he's showing up on set and being like, hey, I'm gonna keep gripping these keys just to, you know, I just love to grip keys. Clearly, I do not know what a key grip does. I imagine they're kind of like, they got a big old key ring that opens all the locks on the set, and they grip them. Anyway. Now, that being said, I'm actually kind of in the opposite boat. I thought about it, like, you know, if I were to retire, would I keep streaming? Would I keep making YouTube videos? Definitely, like, at least for now, the answer is yes, because I don't know, like, what else I would do. I witnessed, I mean, it sounds like, when you say witness, it's like a tragic story, right? But, like, I was, like, maybe 9 or 10 when my grandparents retired. They used to own their own business. And, you know, after they retire, I don't really want that. Let's be honest. After they retired, you know, they went through like a retirement, basically like a honeymoon where they traveled around a little bit. And they were like, what do you want to do today? I don't know. Let's just go for a cool walk outside. And it was nice. And then after like a couple of years of being retired, they were basically like, I'm bored, you know? And it's a tragedy, but I feel like it probably happens to like 95% of people who retire. You know, they watch a little bit too much TV and, you know, call the grandkids and go, when are you going to visit? Which you should probably visit more often. I mean, you know, they are part of your family, but... You get what I mean? That being said, I guess if I worked, you know, for like 45 years in the workforce or more, and then someone was like, hey, Grandpa, you watch a lot of TV. You want to take up hot yoga with me? I might just be like, you know what, whippersnapper? You know how many refrigerators I've moved up staircases in my life? I just want to sit back and watch Xena Warrior Princess, okay? Yo, huge get. No, that's, I mean, not really actually that bad, but whatever. I have PTSD about the tick, post-tick stress disorder, because of, well, it's actually Polaroid tick stress disorder, because you used to pick this up, and then the Polaroid used to be a trinket. You'd be like, well, I guess my run's over. At least for getting to the very end of the game. But anyway, that's, you know, I'm, admittedly... I probably don't need to make sure that every series has a video every day before I go away. But I just, you know, I feel better doing it. And, you know, I know people appreciate it. You got a routine. I'm happy to be a part of that routine. It's a good time. Plus, it gives me a great excuse to play Gungeon. But it does lower the anecdotes. I mean, like, I was at the grocery store yesterday. I don't have an anecdote for you. Like, here's where we're at with the grocery store anecdotes. Especially now that they've mandated like self-checkout is everywhere. You know what? I got 2 anecdotes. The one that I was gonna deliberately lampshade as being boring was, you know, I was moving my cart to get into an aisle, and there was a dude just standing in the middle of an aisle. So I kind of like politely, yeah, he was looking at the shelf, but he was standing like in the exact midpoint. So I moved my cart, you know, I'm not like trying to bump into him. I move my cart up to him. I get like an inch away from him. He doesn't acknowledge my existence at all. I put on my politest voice. I go, "Excuse me." And then he just looks at me and he goes like, "Oh." And he just stepped forward and went back to examining which one of the Reader Sport bars he would like to buy. You see, it's not a good anecdote. The other one, and this one I got a little bit of I got a bone to pick. I'm not gonna name the grocery store in question, but you know, let's see how you feel about this before I go in too deep. In British Columbia, and I think maybe the entirety of Canada at large, you pay. Oh, I can't take this with dunce cap. It's not Zane. I'll be dead. Sure, it's a fun item. The D6. Hold on. It almost went too far. That's good. In Canada, or at least in British Columbia and Ontario, you pay a tax when you buy a plastic bag. Plastic bags at grocery stores cost you 5 cents each. Now, you know, is this what we're gonna do today? We're gonna fight. I understand when you make a reusable bag, you use more resources than it takes to make a plastic bag, and you need to use your reusable bags like, you know, at least hundreds, if not thousands of times each to pay for that net cost in resources. However, you know, like, I don't even want to get into it because I don't possess the necessary information to refute that. All I'm going to say is I bring my reusable bags. I feel very guilty when I get a plastic bag. And over the course of a lifetime, assuming these reusable bags last that long, and at the end of the day, they ain't ended up in the ocean, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I was using the self-checkout. And while I was using the self-checkout, there was a woman at the self-checkout behind me. And she went, "Excuse me." She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to the staff. You know, there has to be a supervisor for the self-checkout so you don't punch in organic bananas instead of, you know, saffron. She went, "Excuse me, I forgot to pay for my plastic bags." Because, you know, when you check out on the machine, it hits you with a, you know, how many plastic bags did you use? And it's Canada, so you use the honor system. Sometimes I don't even use the plastic bags, but sometimes I'm like, here, take another 10 cents just for fun. That's a joke. I don't actually do that. So she's like, "I didn't pay for my bags. What do I do?" And then the staff went, "Oh, you don't have to pay for your bags." And she went, "What?" And then the staff went, "Yeah, you could just punch in 0 at that screen if you want and not pay anything." And the woman was like, "Oh, I didn't know that that's like okay." And then the staff was like, "Yeah, I mean, if you were buying like $800 worth of food and you use like 20 or 30 plastic bags, then I'd be like, you know, hey, you gotta pay for those. But if you're just using a couple of plastic bags, then you don't have to pay for them at all." First off, I think someone might want to inform the rest of the stores in British Columbia that that's the policy, is that even though there's like, you know, a bylaw that says plastic bags are 5 cents each, it's only if you're buying a lot of them. Don't even worry about it. Secondary, I'm not trying to narc on the grocery staff, by the way. It just seems like, you know, for years, you know, I've been paying the 5 cents for the plastic bags. I didn't realize that it's optional, and I have the grocery store their consent to just lie on the form. I mean, if you steal like a lot from the store, that would be bad. But if you're just stealing like a little bit, nah, go for it. It's kind of like, I'm not actually offended. I'm bringing it up almost in like a Seinfeldian sort of context, just for good humor's sense. But, you know, it just goes to show you that no matter what policy you enact, even if you're like, you know, we'd like to curb plastic bag usage. We're not gonna make it illegal, but we're gonna, like, you know, add a little deterrent to using plastic bags. All it takes is, you know, somebody being overly polite at the grocery store that's like, ah, yeah, we don't enforce that. And all your hard work and debate has gone out the window. It's like you got a computer dude that works in your office, making sure you change your password every 3 months. What that leads to is everybody leaving their password up on their whiteboard behind them. Well, I just can't be expected to remember that. I mean, come on, we have to change it every 3 months. See, I'm anecdote bereft. It's basically what it comes down to. I will say, I was at the grocery store yesterday because we canceled, and I'm very happy to admit this, we canceled our meal preparatory service that has been delivered to us. I'm going to regale you with the tale about this company. I'm not going to necessarily name them because, you know, we had mixed experiences with them. I don't want to be one of those guys. You know, we used this company for like 5 years, and then we had 2 bad experiences, and we're like, well, that's a 1 star. It's probably like a 2 star, but I don't want to leave like a review like that. They're a local business. Anyway, so every week they deliver 2 bags full of ingredients. Yo. And then like recipes along with them. You cook along with it. I'm making green chili chilaquiles. And they come out, sometimes they come out and it's like a 4 out of 10 meal. And maybe there's some operator error. Sometimes they come out as a 5 out of 10 meal. Maybe it's just a little bland. Sometimes they come out like an 8 out of 10. And that sometimes is when my wife cooks the dish. Honestly, she's a better cook than I am. Even though I got the necessary requisite skills in a few different culinary departments, she's got me on the overall, there's no doubt. And sometimes, like what happened last week, we only got one of the meals. So, you know, I don't like making phone calls at the best of the time, but I've been getting a lot better about it. I say, hey, let's take the bull by the horns. So I call them up and I say, hey, I'm not sure if you noticed, but we paid for 2 meals, but we only got one of them. And then they went, oh yeah, there was a shortage at the, you know, at one of the ingredient production, you know, like they were like, there was a production issue. We didn't get enough celery in this week. So basically we're going to deliver the meal to you tomorrow. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then tomorrow rolls around. My wife gets like 4 missed calls from this company. I get a missed call from this company. And basically the missed calls are just incomprehensible, like when they're on voicemail. They're like, hey, this is your service. We're going to be delivering the meals soon. Hey, so we're about 10 minutes away. Going to be delivering your meals. By the way, we don't need to pick up packages. Like, there's a little package depository you just kind of put them into, so that we don't need to be notified in the first place. Then Kate had a missed call that was like, hey, I got car trouble. Can't deliver your package. Then I had a missed call that was like, just so you know, your package has arrived, so don't cancel. I don't, and that's the one that really adds a certain layer of mystery to the whole situation. I'm gonna drop all these. I don't want to risk it, because I think what happened, and this is why another reason I don't necessarily want to put the company on blast. I think maybe they had a driver who had like a really bad day, and that happens. I don't know what happened. Maybe he had a family emergency or something, and he didn't want to, you know, take the day off from work because he couldn't afford to. So he's like, I'll just try to fit everything in. And anyway, long story short, you know, it's a very weird message to get. It's like, we can't deliver your package. By the way, it's delivered, so definitely don't cancel. We go down. We're like, hey, there's no package. Talk to, you know, building staff. We're like, hey, is there a package here, by the way? They're like, nah, there's no package. They delivered it a day later, which is fine, but is a little weird that you're like, you know, you told me it was delivered yesterday when it wasn't. Hold on. Right, why would I ever do that? And, you know, at this point, you have to realize, if you put yourself in my shoes, these individually, these are all very petty complaints, but we basically subscribe to this service in order to maximize our own convenience. And when we're spending, you know, a prohibitive amount of time just trying to pick up the food that we overpaid for, it now starts to hit the point where you start to examine things, you know? It's like when you got a friend and you're like, yeah, you know, they're kind of like mean to me, but I like them. And then they do something that's really mean. And you're like, wait a minute, you've sucked forever. So we canceled the service is basically what it came down to. Is like, you know, you couldn't even just get the shredded carrots to the door reliably. There was already, the number one thing I complained about in the past, the reason, like, to be honest with you, I will never recommend, it wasn't Blue Apron for the record. But they're the most recognizable. The reason I'll never recommend a Blue Apron style service to somebody is this. After using them for like 2 years. Using a company similar to them for 2 years at least. If you don't know how to cook, the recipes that you get are not really great for beginner cooks. They have you doing stuff that is, I mean, not necessarily complicated, but not necessarily in the lexicon of, you know, what you should be doing if you've never boiled water before, you know? Making your own tzatziki by zesting an entire cucumber. That's the one I always come back to, is just say, it's not hard, but if you're a beginning chef, you should really just give you, like, you know, a pork chop and some potatoes and be like, try this on for size, in my opinion. And if you're somebody who's been living, you know, independently for a while, if you know how to cook and buy groceries for yourself, you got a few recipes locked away in the old dome piece, I think you're gonna find yourself being frustrated because these so-called convenient meals that are like, they only take a half hour, actually have like another, basically you could double the recipe time in terms of like hitting cost, you know? Like, for example, one of my go-to meals, especially for like meal prep, is like a big pot of stew or chili or, you know, a curry of some sort. Yo. Maybe no hemolacria. We actually used the perks pill, like, for real. It's the first time that's ever happened in Isaac history. I don't think it's good enough. Definitely don't think it's good enough. Ah! Just grab it! That was not worth it. But, you know, what do you spend to cook, you know, let's say 6 bowls of stew? You spend, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes chopping. The cook time is largely passive. You got meals for the week. They're delicious. They're nutritious. At the end of it, you got 6 bowls and a pot to wash. Or well, yeah, pot. I don't know why I was like, a pan. You don't cook stew in a pan, dummy. I always get my pots and pans confused. Some of these so-called, you know, they say, hey, it only takes, hey, ease up, brother, it's a 15-minute meal. Yeah, it's a 15-minute meal. It requires 7 different mixing bowls. You gotta make a marinade in this one, a salad dressing in this one. This one you're gonna be making a little bit of aioli that you're gonna drizzle over the top. Mix honey, maple syrup, and cane sugar, you know, and then basically the active cooking time is insanely high. And then on top of that, they tend to make a lot of dishes as well. And then they tend to, I mean, the ones from this service, I know I'm ranting at this point, but this is my sober appraisal of these services. I'm not going like, man, it's ridiculous that they can't even, you know, I mean, what am I paying you for? I'm not going like that. Privately, maybe, but like, publicly, I'm just like, dude, I'm happy to be free of the service. So like, you know, where was I going with? I don't even remember. Oh, the nutritional information. Sometimes you'd finish cooking something and it would be like, you know, pad thai with ground turkey. And you're like, a little weird, but, you know, can't say no to a good pad thai. You finish eating it, look on the back, and it's like, that's a 1,050 calories per serving. And you're like, 1,050 calories? It's just rice noodles, of ground turkey, and oh, the 2 cups of cane sugar you included. That luckily I threw one of them out because I'm not insane. Anyway, is, you know, if you're watching this, you're involved in one of these organizations. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I'm sure for a lot of... I think one of the situations where it might be like a kind of a cool thing is if you have like, you know, a couple of kids that are, you know, adolescents or teenagers, you know they're going to be going to the dorms or something at some point. You're like, you know, they should have some necessary cooking skills. It's like a fun activity to do together. But sometimes, you know, Kate and I would finish working, or, you know, streaming, if you want to call it work, at like, you know, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and then we'd look at the meal and it'd be like, oh, it takes 20 minutes. That shouldn't be that hard. And then it starts with preheat your oven to 400 degrees. It takes like 20 minutes just by itself. And you're like, one of these days. Anyway, so real talk, if this seems like a negative story, it's not. I was stoked that we canceled the meal prep service. So I went to the grocery store and bought a bunch of ingredients. The sum total of the ingredients cost less than like one of the meals from the meal prep service. I made a kickin' beef stew in the Instant Pot. It took less than an hour, and we got delicious meals for the rest of the week. It's a dream come true. Good? You know what? We already have Cricket's body, so I'm willing to let it ride on all these other ones. I'm happy to be done with them, honestly. Get back to cooking meals we like. Because sometimes, you know, you could choose the meals, but like, sometimes the meals would arrive and you would be like, well, I mean, I get that they have to make money, right? So I understand it's not going to be like you're going to get the same value proposition as if you bought the groceries yourself. That makes sense. There's labor involved in, you know, shipping and et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes it would be like, you know, vegetarian tacos, and you would get like so many ingredients you couldn't even carry them all. You need to start doing 5-3-1 big but boring just to be able to carry the bag up the staircase. You know, vegetables tend to be relatively cheap. And then other times it would be like New York strip loin steak, and then you'd open it up and the beef portion would be like the size of your pinky finger, and you're like, okay, I get it, beef's a little bit more expensive here, but still. That episode went by real fast. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps us a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See you.